for better waste management, the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Patlamin Fai, who drum up support in sustaining the school feeding program, and the Minister of Health, Balagava Jahumpa, who announced the signing of an MOU formalizing the transfer of the community clinic to government. The local speakers, who included the Alcalo of Sanyang, Jabere Sanyang, and Aidendur, all indicated that their loyalty to President Jammeh is stronger than ever. Later in Lamin, where he arrived to a rapturous welcome, the Gambian leader again vowed to reciprocate the support continuously manifested by people in Kombonot. The region is a political powerhouse for APRC, with a voter population that continues to make the difference between the ruling party and the opposition. That voter population projects a positive outlook for the monthly cleansing exercise with the required presidential support. He pledged to fund the program to be steered from the grassroots to take on the cleansing of the towns in the Kombonot district with a $500,000 disbursement. Another $500,000 will also be made available to the community for the transportation of the waste collection, which, as planned, will better enhance the environmental awareness campaign. He rounded up his statement, vowing to deliver on his promise of capitalizing on available resources to boost government's development agenda. But this, according to him, will have to be sustained with a sufficient youth-led action, without which the developments registered will only be honest to benefit foreign nationals, as in the case of the multi-million-dollar investments in the coastal settlements of Sanyang, Sanjay, and Bakau. Earlier, the Lord Mayor of the KMC, Yankuba Koli, called for collective action, stating politics is no more, and it is now time to work. The paramount chief of the Gambia, Alhaji Demba Sanyang, urged the youth to take President Jammeh as their role model, while attesting the achievements of his government. The Gambian leader left Lamin late in the evening, heading to Kanilai for another night stop, and began his day Tuesday with a meeting in Block. From Flemi Subarnon, I am Abdunjai reporting.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has expressed concern about the level of force Turkey's police have been using against peaceful protesters after more than 2 weeks of often violent protest. Turkey appears to be a nation increasingly divided, and anti-government demonstrations are angering those loyal to Prime Minister Erdogan. CNN's Carl Penhall has details in this report.
Water cannons barreled toward anti-government protesters. A defiant few briefly resist. They're the stragglers at the end of a half-hearted strike by labour unions. Riot police prepared to chase them. Before they do, store owners and civilian bystanders loyal to Prime Minister Erdogan take matters into their own hands. They turn the protesters' own rocks against them. Then celebrate their victory, chanting the Prime Minister's name. This is Turkey, and we will not hand over this country to hired thugs. We're shopkeepers, and we've had enough, he says. Confrontations between rival civilian factions have so far been rare.
It's becoming more of a group, two groups in the same country.
Those clashes came after this demonstration. Leftist Labour leaders talked tough, calling for the Prime Minister to quit. Then they simply backed away. If they want to walk, then we can walk together, but we don't want any solitary heroes, he says. This is what's left now of the union protest. Most of the demonstrators have headed home, leaving this much smaller group behind. They seem to have lost momentum and run out of ideas about what to do next. The lack of leadership seemed to anger younger protesters who had hoped to march through police ranks into downtown Istanbul. This was a people's movement, and ordinary people started it. The people will decide, not the union nor the parties, she says. But time for those decisions may be running short. Protesters seem to be losing steam, while many ordinary Turks seem to be losing patience. Carl Penhall, CNN, Istanbul.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has refused to sign a declaration demanding the resignation of the embattled Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The development took place as leaders meeting in Northern Ireland for a two-day summit of G8 leaders. We have details of that story by DTV.
For the traditional family photo. And while the two-day summit in Northern Ireland did expose differences between the leading industrial nations, there were broad areas of consensus. There was an agreement that the global economy is doing better than it was a year ago, but there's still work to do in implementing structural reforms and stimulating growth. There was also unity on clamping down on tax evasion. The G8 want tighter global controls and more transparency on the trillions hidden away in tax shelters. But there were sticking points. US President Barack Obama had to field tough questions on his government's secret surveillance program. And in discussions over the Syrian conflict, Russian President Vladimir Putin found himself increasingly isolated in his country's support for Bashar al-Assad.
We have differing opinions, but we all share the aim of stopping the violence in Syria, halting the mounting death toll, and solving the situation peacefully. That includes bringing the parties to the negotiating table in Geneva.
Russia refuses to sign a declaration demanding that Assad step down. A call for peace and more humanitarian aid for refugees will most likely remain the only points of agreement on Syria.
Well, time now to join the Central Focused Office for a look at the weather report.
Understanding its sustainability in all aspects of life is easily confirmed. The River Gambia provides nutritious delicacies as food, while it provides its wildlife a balanced ecosystem. This river, as a sanctuary, is committed to its inhabitants' needs without ceasing. And as you travel along, all these values are replicated in one company, Elton, just like the River Gambia, leads in its commitment to values that matter most. Elton, championing the vision for a new generation.
Good evening, and once again it's a of the weather due today, followed by our forecast. The Gambia this afternoon was generally warm and sunny. For what will follow, let's start with a look at the satellite image captured at 16:30 hours, indicating a band of medium-level clouds stretching from the central to the Gulf of Guinea states. The north and the southern areas were generally dry and stable during the period. For our forecast, tonight we're expecting conditions of the Gambia to be variably cloudy but mild. Tomorrow we'll start with variably cloudy conditions, becoming warm and sunny thereafter. Winds will be dominated by a westerly flow, but will be light to moderate in the speed. Morning temperature values will be 23 degrees Celsius over Banjul and Kanifing, and increasing by 1 degree, reaching 26 degrees Celsius over the Upper River region. Top temperatures will be 30 degrees Celsius over Banjul and Kanifing. We are expecting the West Coast region to record 32 degrees Celsius. And the North Bank, Lower River region will record 34 degrees Celsius. And we are expecting 36 degrees Celsius over the Central River and the Upper River region respectively. We are expecting a low tide of 0.6 meters at 3 minutes past 12 a.m. and the high tides will be 1.4 meters at 5:52 a.m. and 1.5 meters at 5:58 p.m. The sun will rise at 6:35 and will set at 28 minutes past 1900 hours. Thank you, and do have a very pleasant evening. Good night.
From the weather report, we take a quick look at our headlines before we end this edition of the news. President Jammeh has urged the youths of the country to play a leading role in the development of the country as he addresses meetings in various locations in the West Coast region. Health practitioners from across the country have benefited from a refresher training course on maternal health and hygiene courtesy of a local NGO. Authorities in Quetta, Pakistan have closed down a women's university after suspected Taliban insurgents